Yo, what's up guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video, and this week we got UFC Baku, UFC Azerbaijan, which is going to be the first time that the UFC is going to be breaking ground in this country, so that's pretty cool, and great card, man. Really good card, awesome main event. This is a main event that I don't know if a lot of people know, but these guys don't really like each other. They've been circling each other for a while, kind of talking shit subtly for years now, so Jamahal, he has beef with, it seems like, everyone around the top of the division, and he's good at building up fights and animosity, and I think he needs that to fuel himself to get the victory. But both these guys, I guess, Jamahal had the loss to Yuri Prochazka after the Alex Pereira loss, but both these guys recently are coming off losses to the champ, and we're going to see who's going to stay in the top five and keep in that mix, and who's going to drop out and kind of become a gatekeeper or have to work their way back up. So the main event is very interesting, and then there's some good fights throughout the whole card. So we're going to have a good time breaking this fight card down, and let's get right into it, man. First off, I just want you guys to hit the like button. Let's try to get as many likes as possible, and put a comment down below. Tell me who's your most confident pick, who you're betting on. I would like to be curious, and maybe I could get a couple bets out of your guys' sharp comments. So, yeah, man, let's get into this first fight of the night here. And just right before we get started, check out Patreon, guys. We've been killing it, man, with these predictions. I feel like we've got some really nice underdogs lately with the patchy mix. We had Kamaru Usman winning recently, Jack Della Maddalena. We've had a few really nice underdog picks. I got some underdogs on this card. And go to patreon.com/Guru, support the channel. You'll get access to some PFL breakdowns this week. And there's a lot of other fight promotions going down. So go over there and check it out. But yeah, having said that, first fight of the night, Hamdi Abdelwahad, he's taking on Muhammad Usman. Kamaru Usman just won the main event last week. Is Muhammad going to be able to make it 2 for 2 for the Usmans? Or is Hamdi going to be able to get that victory? I think this is a really crappy fight to start off the card. I mean, Usman, he has the tools to win this fight. Like, he moves off the back foot. He's just going to be throwing the jab. Pretty much all he does in his fights against wrestlers. And maybe occasionally he'll explode with a big overhand or a big uppercut. But he's one of these guys where he's good being offensive, but he doesn't like getting hit. So you have big reactions in the pocket. He's just not that composed. So he wants to just jab and run and then explode in with big power and then get out of there type of thing. And his wrestling offense is serviceable, but he's not going to be able to get takedowns versus Hamdi. It's going to have to be wrestling in reverse, which he does have a good takedown defense, and then he will get up to his feet pretty well. And I do think he's going to be able to keep this fight standing for the most part. He might get taken down a couple times, but I think he'll be able to get up and fight hands and kind of give his back to stand up and get back to space. Hamdi, he has good amateur wrestling background. He has good Greco-Roman wrestling, and he can hit takedowns, but he doesn't really have the greatest top control. And he's not someone that's going to take the back or anything like that. So I do think Usman can give his back, stand up, and kind of make it more of a striking battle. But Hamdi can get multiple takedowns, and if he has the pace or the cardio to keep that pace, he could win that way. But I do think Usman will be the fresher guy in that type of fight. Hamdi has to let his hands go, be a little bit more believing in his striking in this fight. And I think that he can land and get bigger reactions out of Usman. And if that, on top of a little bit of control time, that could win him the fight, with Usman maybe landing more, and it could be a split decision, really sloppy. I mean, I don't have a great read on this one, but I just think Hamdi's more of a dog, and then he has the better wrestling. Usman, a little bit longer, better jab movement, and then better cardio. So it could go either way, honestly, but I'm going to lean with Hamdi Abdelwahad to get this victory via decision. And up next, we got kind of a random fight in the flyweight division, but it's between two of the more unsung guys with Tagir Ulanbekov, who's on a 3-fight winning streak and 5-1 in the UFC. So he deserves, I think, a better opponent, but he's taken on Azat Maxim, who's 1-1 coming off of a loss. But Maxim is 15-1 in his career overall, and that loss to Charles Johnson was the first time he ever lost in his career. So when you look at it like that, it is a high-level matchup. And Azat Maxim, super slick stand-up fighter. He's tall, long, and lanky for the weight division, super speedy, and he moves really well. He has great distance control. He bounces in and out of range. He feints. He switches stances. He darts in with nice straight punch combinations, nice knees to the body. He has decent kicks on the outside too. And he's good at drawing reactions and then using his feet to slide in and out with his counters. And you have to attack the legs, in my opinion. The lower half of Maxim, get him more stationary. Maxim doesn't check leg kicks really, and he wants to be able to move back and return with shots, so he's not really moving his head and slipping and ripping in that way as much. So if you can get him more stationary, you can land on him over the top. Charles Johnson, in his last fight, he's one of the few 125ers who's taller and longer than him, made it hard for Maxim to implement that pool style. And he did drop Johnson early and got fairly close on a choke, but he couldn't finish, and then he lost the last 2 rounds. And his wrestling got a little exposed in that fight because he stands tall. Charles Johnson was able to get in on his hips, hit takedowns. Maxim was giving up his back, and it seemed like the threat of the takedown made his striking output go way down. But his conditioning was good, and it could have just been a fight where he got surprised that Charles Johnson was wrestling him. Maybe we'll see better resistance here. But his opponent, Tagir Ulanbekov, he's a good striker. He's long for the weight class and matches the height and reach of Maxim. He has a similar striking style. He's a little more flat-footed, but he also likes to keep it long and throw straights. He has nice counter hooks, decent kicks to the body, to the head, nice front kicks. He isn't as fast. Maxim is the better striker. I think he's more dynamic and faster than Ulanbekov. But Ulanbekov hits harder, and I think he needs to wrestle, though, in this fight. He will look to mix in body lock takedowns, and if he can get the takedown, I think he can take the back, and he has a good chance to get the rear naked choke. He's a sick guillotine as well, so I think that's going to make Azat a little bit nervous to go to his stomach to stand up or go to his knees to stand up and give up that threat. So he's probably going to give his back up and just get backpacked. Could end up submitted as well in that scenario. But the line is wide. I do think it could be a buy low spot for Maxim if he can keep it standing. But I just feel like Ulanbekov is probably going to be able to backpack him. He's probably going to be able to threaten front chokes potentially. And I could see an early submission win for Maxim, or for Ulanbekov, excuse me. And if he doesn't get that, just a dominant decision with control. So give me Ulanbekov to win this fight, and he's one of, I think, the safer picks here. And up next year, I'm definitely going to be on an island with this one. I feel like we got Irina Alekseeva taking on Claudia Segula. And Irina, she's kind of cultivated a fan base, even though she's been in the UFC a short time. She's eccentric with her personality outside the cage and then brings a all-action brawling style inside the cage. So she's been able to get some fans because of that. And her debut went amazing for her. She got an upset win. She beat someone that's a pretty decent fighter in Stephanie Egger and submitted her. And her last loss was October of 2023, though. So it's been a while since we've seen her. And she has to have a good performance to guarantee her spot on the roster. Being 34 years old, coming back after almost 2 years off, and losing her previous fight. But Claudia Segula, her opponent, she had a 6-fight win streak snapped in her UFC debut. She got finished in the second round and kind of has to regroup and prove she's UFC level here. She's had a lot of easy fights before she got to the company, so this is kind of a chance for both girls to prove that they deserve to stay in the UFC. But Segula, she's an okay striker. Her footwork is a little awkward. You see her cross her feet, but she's fast, though, and she'll use lateral movement, explode in with 3-2s, 2-3s. Defensively, she does drop her hands, and she tends to stand tall. So I think that being an ATT for this camp, she's going to be improving with their defense, and I do think that she has good speed, and her boxing is decent. So she has potential. It's just she definitely has to sharpen her defense in this fight because she's fighting someone that throws with wild power and is just looking to brawl. So Saygula can't get clipped too much. But Claudia will mix it up. She'll hit body lock takedowns, and on top she has decent control, good back takes. But her defensive wrestling and her game off her back kind of got exposed. Mellisa Mullins fought both these girls, so in her fight with Alexieva got her back taken and kind of was able to survive for 3 rounds and got dominated. But Saygula had really zero on bottom. She got taken down. She got mounted at the end of the first round, was eating punches. Then the second round, Mullins got her down again and finished her on the ground. So at least Alexieva was able to survive a little bit, and I wouldn't really try to clinch and grapple much with Alexieva until she starts to slow down. When she starts to get tired, round 2, round 3, then get the takedowns. But early on, try to just move and extend the fight. But Irina Alexieva's a dog. She has big power. She wants to brawl on the feet. She's wild. She's not super accurate. She throws a lot of looping shots, but great durability. She'll take a shot to give a shot, and when she connects heavy, she could put you out. Most dangerous early on, and she does slow down and become less explosive. When she gets tired, she just becomes a punching bag a little bit. But she's dangerous on the ground as well. And obviously, she doesn't have that many fights, but 2 of her 5 wins are submission wins. She got the 1 knee bar in the UFC. And her fight with Mellisa Mullins, she got dominated on the ground. She got controlled for probably over 10 minutes. But she did reverse a couple times. She also hit a judo throw in the 3rd round. But she was exhausted. You could tell that she was really tired. And I don't really have a great read on this fight because Alexieva is dangerous and someone I can't count out. But I'm going to take Saygula to win a decision. I just think if Alexieva, coming off a layoff and being 34 years old, on top of already having poor cardio, can't finish in the first round, I don't trust her to cover this price tag. And it's possible she catches Saygula early, but Saygula is faster. I think she has better footwork. And she has to know that the best chance for Alexieva to beat her is if she makes a mistake early on. So if she could survive, mix in a takedown or 2, stick and move, I think she can pull the upset here. She's been more active. She's training an American top team. She's almost 10 years younger. Give me Saygula to win this fight. And up next, we got an underrated fight here between Ismail Naurdiev and Jung Park. Naurdiev, he made his way back into the UFC and got a win in his last one, albeit it was against Bruno Silva, who's kind of proven that he's checked out in the MMA world at this point. But he came back, he faced that pressure, and he got the job done. Now he's taking on a much stiffer challenge in Jung Park, who's 8-3 in the UFC, but doesn't really have a lot of great wins. And this is another fight where kind of a lateral fight for him. He's not really gaining anything, so hopefully he could, build up that motivation again and continue to try to get bigger fights. But nonetheless, you look at Naurdiev, the guy is a super good kicker. His kicks to all parts of the body are fast, they're lethal. He can move forward and be first, and that's when he's at his best. He has elite speed. He touches the jab well. He'll attack the body. Nice straights. He's good at pushing the pace and overwhelming guys. He'll get opponents to shoot, reverse, and then finish on top or control on top. Good double as well. Good rear naked choke. He has a good guillotine. The main issue with Naurdiev's style is his defense in the mid-range. He's clean with his offense, but he'll drop his hands when he throws kicks. He tends to leave his head on the center line when he throws strikes, and fighters can land counters on him. There's been fights where he's been dropped hard or knocked out. He does have nasty offensive striking. I think his leg kicks are going to be effective here. I think that early on he's going to have the speed advantage, and if he could pressure and push Park back, he could hurt him. But he tends to push a hard pace, and he will get a little tired. And this fight, when you look at Jung Park is a guy that is not as dynamic. He's not going to throw the crazy kicks. He's not going to have that elite speed. But he brings great pressure. He stays right in your face. He's excellent at cutting the cage off and backing you up near the fence. He has a great jab, and then he has good boxing on the inside. He'll throw nice combinations. His hand speed isn't elite, but it's good enough. And then his cardio is really good, and he's just willing to take one to give one, stay in your face, and then he can mix in that body lock game as well, where he has a decent rear naked chokes in his own right, and I think that he's going to have the better grappling here. And just the gas tank for Park, I think, is going to be a big difference, and just ultimately the ability to take damage and just stay composed. And I think that Park is going to break Naurdiev here. Naurdiev may start well, but I think Park's going to stay in his face. And round 2, round 3, we're going to see him get a finish in this fight. So give me Jung Young Park to be victorious. And for this next one, we got two guys that had recent fights scrapped. So they decided to just put them together and put them on this card. And we got Oban Elliott, who's a pretty dedicated and skillful fighter. He has well-rounded skills, and he likes to mix it up. He'll push the pace. He can bounce in and out of range pretty well. Lateral movement, jabs, leg kicks, round kicks, side kicks. Body kicks are really nasty. Fast head kicks. He's trying to kind of just stay active, pick at you, be evasive, cut angles, land some check hooks, 1-2s, land the kicks. And then he can mix in level changes too, and he can wrestle pretty good. His defensive wrestling has been impressive in his UFC fights, and when he gets on top, he could take the back, he can rack up control time, great cardio, and he's super tough. He's had a couple fights where he got dropped early and came back to win, so that shows his cardio as well. And he doesn't really have crazy power, but his volume adds up, and he's been able to hurt fighters later in fights. He dropped his opponent, almost finished him in round 3 in his Contender Series fight, and then in November, he knocked out Baso Hafez in round 3, so good fighter overall is Oban Elliott. And SeokHyun Ko, extremely aggressive. He fights out of the southpaw stance, really long bladed stance. He bounces in and out of range. He feints. He stays coiled, ready to land that left hand. He likes to pressure forward. He'll carry his hands low, try to draw you out, and then he throws counters. Good leg kicks as well. Great composure. He's good at controlling the pace of the fight with his pressure and his power. And all of his KO shots are loaded, so you do have the opportunity to catch him as well. We've seen him get knocked out off the back foot before. But if you stand in front of Ko, he can put your lights out. And his takedown defense and his grappling haven't been tested that much. I've seen fights where he did get taken down, he did get put on the fence, but Ko's been able to get free pretty quickly. His last fight, he showed some offensive wrestling. He got some takedowns. I don't think that's going to happen in this one. So I think Ko has a chance to get the knockout, but Elliott should be able to get off with his weapons too. His body kick should be there. I think he could switch stance, land the low kicks, land the jabs, try to intercept and break Ko's rhythm, mix in takedowns, and just prove that you're the more experienced guy. Use that to your advantage. I think Ko's being a little disrespected on the line for sure, but I'm going to say it's a decision win or late round knockout win, late round 2, early round 3 type of KO TKO win for Oban Elliott. And the next fight we got on the card, we got Muhammad Naimov. He's going to be taking on Bogdan Grad. And Bogdan Grad, to me, this guy's been an overachiever because I haven't really liked his fight style, but he's used grittiness and determination to get to a spot that I never thought he would be, and that's 1-0 in the UFC, looking to potentially get into that top 30-ish mix here against Muhammad Naimov, who is definitely a very good established fighter. He's beaten guys like Nathaniel Wood, coming off a win in his last fight, and he's a big favorite here to defeat Bogdan Grad, but I do think Grad is live because Grad is going to be higher volume and he's going to push that pace. He's someone that comes forward. He's kind of hittable. He'll run into strikes. That's how you saw him get knocked out early by Tom Nolan. But it seems like if he can get past that first couple minutes, he can settle into the fight. He can sort of take shots better. He's only been knocked out once. And he's decent at getting his head off center line and then coming with big overhands, coming with big hooks, and pretty explosive. And then he'll mix in takedowns as well. He could wrestle, kind of underrated wrestling. His top control isn't good, but he has good conditioning, and then he will throw up submissions off his back. So if you put him on bottom, he can create scrambles fairly well. but he's not necessarily good anywhere, and then he's vulnerable on the feet. So you look at Muhammad Naimov, I think he fought a similar opponent in his last fight with Con Offley, someone that's trying to use a lot of pressure, that's trying to put you on the cage, and I think that that's going to be kind of a similar game plan to Bogdan. And Naimov, I think, has a better wrestling, better striking, he's more athletic. It's just Muhammad Naimov sometimes can let guys boss the fight and be a little nonchalant in there. I could see Bogdan, if he could eat the power and then actually create some scrambles or get Naimov tired where he can control him a little bit, maybe he can spring the upset, but I just think Naimov is going to have too many opportunities to land his power on the counter. I think he's going to have the better wrestling, and I feel like he's beaten a lot better opponents than Bogdan. I think that he's going to be able to put Bogdan on his back, maybe have more success controlling Bogdan than other opponents. And I think that his power is going to keep Bogdan honest, if not knock Bogdan out early. So give me Naimov via decision as the prediction for this fight. Man, in this next fight, this should be a banger too. This is a great matchup here. I feel like Nikolas Motta, this guy always gets the short end of the stick. UFC's putting him in these really hard matchups where they're trying to build other guys off of him. But from all accounts, he's a really dedicated guy. He's always at the PI trying to get better, improve, and he's been able to win back-to-back fights. He got the upset over Maheshata his last one, so I don't think he's as easy an out as maybe people are making it out to be, but he's taken on a really good fighter, someone that I think is underrated in Nazim Sadykhov. You look at Nazim, he's a New York guy. He trains out of that Sarah Longo camp. And so he has the wrestling, the grappling. Even though his wrestling isn't elite, we've seen him mix in takedowns. I think that in this fight, he's going to come with the game plan to mix it up and potentially get takedowns. And on the feet, he has really good methodical pressure. He isn't necessarily the guy that's going to throw a ton of volume. So you watch his fight, for instance, with Slava Borshev. Borshev was sticking and moving, throwing combinations, cutting angles on Nazim, and Nazim wasn't getting off as much as Borshev in round 1 and round 3. Round 2, he almost knocked him out and finished him, so he got a 10-8 that round, and that's what happened. That's why the fight was a draw. But round 1, round 3, he let Slava just kind of move around him and throw numbers and cut angles, and Nazim's really good at staying composed, staying sharp, defensively responsible, not really taking anything clean or getting hit too hard with anything, blocking a lot of shots, and then finding his openings to land a really clean straight left hand, really clean check right hook, land hard body kicks, hard head kicks, and more concussive type shots. His wrestling defense is getting a lot better too. He's had some issues with that. I don't think that's going to be a problem in this fight, but that's improving. And then he has great conditioning, and the main thing that he has in this fight, I think, advantage-wise, is his durability, where he's never been stopped, and Motta's been stopped with strikes 4 times. But you look at Nick Motta, the guy's a really nasty left hook, and he's just looking to move around, pull you into his big overhands, into his big straights, and then his big lead hooks. And he's trying to feint low, go high. He's looking to mix in low kicks and just kind of try to lull you and then land that big power. But he does load up on a lot of shots. If you could start to get your timing, you could start to land on him, and he runs into punches. That's why he's been knocked out 4 separate times. Also, his wrestling defense has been exploited in the past, like when he fought Trey Ogden. His cardio also isn't necessarily elite. It seems like he's a front runner. When he could be dominating the fight, winning, things are going his way, he could fight 15 minutes hard and be on point. But when things start going bad for him, he could really go downhill quick. So he's one of those guys. And I just think Nazim's a little bit more solid hardware up top mentally. And I think that he's going to be able to stay solid. Maybe he'll lose the first round. Maybe Motta will be winning some of these exchanges, being a little faster early on. But I think once Nazim lands and lands even a couple times, he's going to change the fight. He might even get the finish. And I think he could even mix in takedowns too. So I think Motta is live, but ultimately I like Nazim, and I think that he's one of the better prospects. So I don't see him losing here, and I think he can get this one done inside the distance. So give me Nazim, round 2, round 3 finish. And up next we got an awesome fight between TOFIQ Musayev and MYKTYBEK OROLBAI. You look at OROLBAI, he had his 8-fight win streak snapped in October. He lost to Mateusz Rebecki, and he had been 2-0 in the UFC, and he was a pretty big favorite to beat Rebecki, but Rebecki's underrated, and he surprised, defeated OROLBAI, and OROLBAI is only 27, so he has the potential to bounce back, and this is going to be his chance to do that, but you knew the UFC had to have at least one local Azerbaijan fighter on the card, and with this being the first foray into the country, they got a good guy to represent them with TOFIQ Musayev. Musayev is a fighter who was born and trained out of Azerbaijan for a long time during his career. I think now he's training in Thailand. I believe he's been at Tiger Muay Thai for this camp, but he's older. He's 35, but he's already had 27 fights. He's 22-5. He's fought for major promotions. He won the belt in Rizin. So if he can get a couple wins together, I think the UFC will move him up quickly. He hasn't fought since 2023, so that's concerning, but hopefully he is, going to come in and can reel off some fights. I know he was going to fight for GFL, and I think UFC offered him a contract, and he turned it down because GFL was offering him more money. So hopefully, he's 100% still, thinking he could be the best. Cause that's kind of a red flag for me that you would turn on the UFC for GFL. But hey, he made his way back to the UFC now, and we'll see what he does. But Musayev is a knockout artist. He has 22 wins. 18 of them are knockouts. And in fights where he hasn't gotten the finish with strikes, he's 4-5. So he tends to be low volume. If he can't find the counter and knock his opponent out, fights can be close. But he actually hasn't lost a decision since 2014, and has only been in 2 decisions in the last 10 years. So usually his fights end before a final bell, but he's an elite counter striker, amazing speed, really good distance control. He likes to stay at the edge of range, fake, feint, and then pull fighters in across his hooks. He has nice kicks. He has excellent accuracy, speed, super patient, clean guy. And he's also really violent. He's willing to exchange in the pocket. He has some brutal knockout wins. And trading with Musayev, that's borderline idiotic. Unless you can point fight from the outside for 15 minutes, getting close to him and smothering him, that's probably going to be the smart thing to do. And to fight TOFIQ, he hasn't really been taken down in any recent fights, and he's defended some half-hearted takedowns in his last couple fights. He was also able to control on top after he dropped his opponent in one of his recent fights, but it's hard to say much. In his fight with Roberto de Souza, he defended a takedown, but de Souza was able to get a triangle off of his back. And Roberto de Souza, though, he's known for having one of the best triangles in the sport. Kind of low fight IQ for Musayev to be in his guard, but I just don't see, OROLBAI submitting him like that. But TOFIQ, tough guy to finish. He's only been stopped via strikes one time, and that was kind of controversial. He fought Alexander Shabley in March of 2023 and got hit with a body kick that looked like it could have ricocheted into the cup, but Jason Herzog, he wanted to restart the fight after he saw the replay, and Musayev wasn't ready to go, and so it became a TKO loss for him. But Musayev, he's been submitted 3 times, but 2 of those submissions were over 10 years ago, and then he had the submission to Roberto de Souza. So since 2015, Musayev is 18-2 and looking really good. But you look at OROLBAI, strong, relentless wrestler. The guy's an iron chin. If he gets you against the fence, he's going to get in on your legs. He's going to manhandle you, mat return you, slam you. And he uses his wrestling to grind fighters down, take their will, and then he'll finish you with ground and pound, heavy top pressure. He did get reversed a couple times in his fight with Elvis Brenner, but he was able to show his scrambling ability, didn't get held down for long. And he's proven in his last 2 fights he can go to war, and he's a tough guy. And his stand-up is serviceable. He does have good balance. I think he has good power in his hands. And he needs to get better with, using the threat of the wrestling to open up his striking. I think now he's more like one-track minded. When he strikes, he strikes. When he wrestles, he wrestles. But if he can land his hands, he can't hurt you. And he throws nice 2-3s, 3-2s. He's not like a stiff guy. He's pretty sharp. And his cardio is elite too. He's relentless. He's durable. And I see this is a pretty binary fight, though. I think OROLBAI has to get it to the ground, stay on top, do damage, and melt Musayev. Musayev is going to need to use his distance control, technical striking, and whoever can implement their game plan, I think, should dominate. OROLBAI could get chin, but he's going to be more active. He's the better wrestler. Maybe he can start to wear on Musayev and break the older fighter. But you have to imagine Musayev is going to be turned up and amped to fight his home country. I think he needs to work the legs and body of OROLBAI and then eventually go to the head. OROLBAI, I think he should try to push the pace hard and hope Musayev slows down so he can land something big and turn the tide, or get Musayev against the fence and wrestle. I think if Musayev comes back sharp, he can get the knockout win or win clean via decision. OROLBAI is ultra tough, but I don't know if he could survive 3 rounds with Musayev. So ultimately, I am predicting a Musayev win. So I'm going to say he wins via second round knockout in this fight. And up next, we're finally going to have this fight, hopefully, between Curtis Blaydes and Rizvan Kuniev. This fight was originally going to be February, I believe, in Seattle, but then it ended up getting moved, and Curtis Blaydes had to pull out of the fight. And I believe after that they were going to fight at UFC 313, but for some reason they didn't fight there, and then ultimately they rescheduled it for a 4th time. And hopefully this one's the charm between Curtis Blaydes and Rizvan Kuniev here. I think it definitely kind of favors Kuniev, who's the younger guy, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, both these guys are younger for heavyweight. They stayed in the gym, I'm sure, and have been working, and they've gotten a long time to get a game plan going for either guy here. But Curtis Blaydes is rolling the dice. I mean, he's in a weird position because he's beaten most of the established heavyweights in the UFC, but every time he's had that fight to get him the title or put him in a title fight, he has lost. So kind of been a ball dropper in the biggest moments, and he finally got to fight for gold in his last fight versus Tom Aspinall, and he got knocked out in 1 minute, which that's happened to a lot of Tom Aspinall's opponents. But Blaydes also got knocked out twice by Francis Ngannou. He got knocked out by Sergey Pavlovich. He got knocked out by Derek Lewis. So he's had a ton of stand-up performances in the UFC. He's 13-5, and that's why it's such a risk taking on a 0-0 fighter who has beaten top competition outside the UFC, hasn't lost since 2015, but he's had issues with drug test failures. He hasn't fought much recently, and we don't exactly know how Kuniev is going to come back and look, but if he wins this fight, he's going to be right probably in the top 5, top 10, and if Blaydes wins, it's really not going to do anything for him. So it's just one of those fights for Blaydes that he has to win to prove to the company his value. But Kuniev, fast heavyweight, good jab, nice check hook. He mixes in leg kicks, nice 1-2s, and he's kind of low volume, but he's pretty fast for a heavyweight and kind of technical boxing. He has decent elbows as well in close range, so that's dangerous. And I've seen fights where he's clipped with some big 1-2s and big punches, but he seems to have a good chin, good composure, so that's good to see as well. 6 knockout wins for him. And he likes to clinch fighters against the cage. He has a good knee game there, okay takedowns, tends to go single leg. I don't know if he's going to try to wrestle Blaydes. I mean, we've seen Blaydes get taken down in fights now at this point, but he's going to be the smaller guy. It could be a hard time for him to get takedowns. I think maybe trying to clinch, put Blaydes against the cage, just try to get him to think that he might wrestle him just to mix it up a little bit, because I think he has better offense in that close range too. Could be smart. And keeping it standing. I mean, obviously defending Blaydes' takedowns, but he's had fights where he's been held down, like when he fought Hernan Ferreira, he got swept and kind of laid on his back. So I don't think he wants to be on bottom here, but I like his game. I mean, the guy is competent striking, he has good cardio, and he could wrestle pretty well for a heavyweight. And Curtis Blaydes, he has good pressure, good feints, good fakes on the feet. His speed is good. He will throw the jab 1-2 and he's long. But he's really just trying to use his striking to time the takedown. And his durability has been an issue like we talked about earlier. But I could see a lot of fakes and feints on the feet from both these guys in this fight and kind of just be a jab battle here, which would be boring. But that I think that would favor Kuniev, but who knows. And Blaydes, he has great wrestling, great timing on the doubles. He has nasty elbows on top, and his conditioning is really good too, so he can gas guys out with the wrestling, and he's just really big in general. But yeah, ultimately, this Blaydes is in this fight is more powerful and athletic, and he has the experience. But I think Kuniev's more skillful on the feet. He's more durable, and I don't know if he could take down Kuniev. I think Kuniev has the takedown defense to keep it standing. And I really think this fight could go either way. If Blaydes can win the wrestling exchanges and get on top, he's going to win. But if he's unable to get it to the mat, I think it could be a slow and dull striking battle with a lot of feinting. And ultimately, Kuniev being slightly better on the feet, being more durable, is the reason I'm going to pick him. He's not a heavy hitter, but anyone who can land clean on Blaydes can hurt him as well. And Kuniev, I'm going to say that he flashes Blaydes with a jab, hurts him, and maybe gets him against the fence, elbows, knees, and gets a huge TKO upset. So, going to go with the Russian here. I'm going to say Kuniev wins it in the second round. And up next here, we got the co-main event. We got Rafael Fiziev taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a quick turnaround for Fiziev's standards. Might not necessarily be like a super quick turnaround in general, but he usually takes a long time in between fights. He's had injuries, so good to see him get back in the cage pretty quickly. But having said that, I did see on Twitter today, I don't know how trustworthy the source is, but they said this fight was canceled, so we'll see if that ends up being true, but gonna break it down anyways. And yeah, Fiziev making his way back, obviously coming off the loss to Gaethje, and Ignacio Bahamondes, this is his chance to beat a top 10 name, someone that obviously it seems like the UFC is giving him a striker, they're giving him a good matchup, a fighter that hasn't necessarily been the most active lately, has had to deal with some injuries and hasn't been winning, has lost 3 fights in a row, whereas Bahamondes is on a big win streak, 3 finishes in a row in the first round. So I think that's what makes this fight tricky for me, because honestly, stylistically, from a fight perspective, I think it's a good matchup for Fiziev, because I've never been as impressed with Bahamondes as other people. The guy has amazing striking, great kicks, he's dynamic, he can counter off the back foot, but I don't think he's the fastest fighter. I feel like the weight cut depletes him a little bit, and we've seen shorter, more compact, explosive guys like Ludovic Klein, even MYKTYBEK, where they could land on him and rock him. And I feel like with Rafael Fiziev, we got someone that has really good kick defense, that's good at getting inside, good at going to the body to open up head strikes, which I think could pay dividends in this fight against a really tall, long torso guy, and someone that can mix in his own kicks that are really damaging. And on top of that, I think Fiziev has the better wrestling and grappling game. I know Ignacio got that submission off his back in his last fight, but honestly, I didn't like that fight from Ignacio, man. Like, Jalen Turner obviously was a little checked out. He retired after the fight and everything like that, but he came out hard and was pressuring Ignacio and forced a bad shot where Ignacio pulled guard, and then he got the triangle off his back. But I hope that he doesn't feel as if he's a jiu-jitsu wizard now and he's just going to submit Fiziev from bottom. If Fiziev starts pressuring him, he could pull guard, and I just don't think that would be a smart strategy. Fiziev is very explosive. I don't see him getting submitted in that same way, especially now people are going to probably respect Ignacio's submission game a little more after he hit that on Jalen Turner. And yeah, so personally I didn't like that. So I feel like if Rafael Fiziev could pressure hard and draw out bad shots from Ignacio, maybe he could just get on top and lay on him and get that much needed win without having to face as much danger. But obviously with Bahamondes, he's going to want to try to pull Fiziev into his sharp shots and then ultimately get his range where he could keep him at the end of his shots and not let him get on the inside and be more in boxing range. And Ignacio's been really good with his crackback counters, and his kicks are really good. He's going to be higher volume. So I want to say Ignacio wins just because of the direction both their careers are going, but I just feel like this is a good matchup for Fiziev on paper. I think that if he gets on the inside and he can go to the body and he could make Ignacio potentially shoot those takedowns like he did versus Turner and get on top, he could win a decision here pretty easily, or he could even catch Ignacio and knock him out. So I'm leaning more towards Fiziev here in this fight, and I'm going to go with the upset. And main event time, and we got a good one, man. We got Jamahal Hill, former champ. He's going to be looking to get back in the win column after 2 losses in a row, and taking on Khalil Rountree Jr., who is coming off a loss himself, but before the loss in the title fight to Alex Pereira, Rountree had ran a nice little win streak together and made his way into the top of the division. So far, Khalil hasn't necessarily found that marquee victory yet, and beating Jamahal Hill would be that for him, and it would be the indicating factor that Khalil has definitely established himself as a top 5 fighter. And for Jamahal Hill, there's a lot riding on this too, because if he loses, that's a big fall from grace, from being the champ just a few years ago to now losing 3 fights in a row. The guy headlined UFC 300, and now if he loses this fight, he might not be even in the top 10. So must win for Jamahal Hill. I feel like he is in a do or die position. And for Khalil Rountree, I think there's a little bit less pressure for him, but obviously he's still wanting to get the win and prove that he is one of these top guys. But you look at how these guys fight. Jamahal Hill, rangy southpaw, awesome cardio, and he keeps methodical pressure on guys. He likes to counter, but he will explode on you when he has you backing up too, so he's tricky. And he's good at controlling distance. He'll stab you with jabs, straights, some low kicks, some body kicks. And when fighters throw at him, that's where he shows his ability to pull back and counter with a check hook or a big left hand. He'll go to the body too. And he has great volume, and he's good at just wearing fighters down. He's gotten some nasty first-round knockouts, showing his power early, but mostly versus chinier guys. He has proven also, though, versus opponents like Glover Teixeira, Thiago Santos, that he can get finishes in championship rounds and rock and hurt guys in championship rounds. So I think his power isn't overrated, because he could definitely put you out if he connects right, but isn't necessarily a one-punch guy. And it is impressive that he can maintain finishing ability, though, later in the fights. But this fight, I think Hill's going to get what he wants, which is a stand-up fight. He has had fights where guys try to wrestle him, and he's good at defending takedowns, but this fight, that's not going to be a worry for him. And he has a good clinch game. I could see him trying to offensively put Khalil on the cage, knee him, try to wear him down, and because I think he has a big conditioning edge in this fight. And if he doesn't get knocked out, you're probably going to start to see Hill take over the fight as it goes. He's good at attacking the body. I think that should help. And his defense is a little underrated in my opinion because he's gotten beat up in his last 2 fights. Historically, he's done a good job with his footwork. He's good at being in range only when he wants to be. He has good kick defense. He'll slip and roll punches well. And he's a dog too. I mean, even though he's been stopped back-to-back times, versus Yuri, we saw it took a lot to finish him, and he's definitely going to stay in your face and try to mob you until you put him out unconscious. But Khalil Rountree, he's a southpaw himself, and he's more of a counter striker. He's very fast twitch, and if you let him go forward and you move backwards on him, he's a scary fighter because he'll rip leg kicks. He has exceptional speed. He can explode and close the distance quickly with hooks, crosses. And if you give him room to explode, you're definitely in danger. And Rountree has gotten better at landing heavy shots on the inside. But if you pressure him and you're technical, you can open him up and you can come with counters. You can get him to shell and land. You can go to his body. You can throw combinations, throw volume. You can't start to wear on Rountree. Early on, Rountree is super dangerous, so you have to be ready to take some shots, keep the pressure on him, not let him build so much momentum or damage on you that he could be viable later in the fight. But Rountree does slow down and becomes more stationary, less explosive. And to me, this fight's going to come down to who gets the timing on the counterattack first. Hill's going to be pressured forward, I imagine, but he's going to be trying to stay defensive early, I think, and get his reads. I expect once he feels Khalil's speed and power, that's when he can pick up the pace if he's confident and try to draw out offense, counter, force exchanges, get wild, because I think that's a good way for him to get ahead here. For Khalil, he's going to be more powerful, so I think he wants to try to control the volume with his power, try to counter with the lead hook or the rear cross, mix in low kicks, and hurt Hill and try to not let Hill really go downhill and make it more of a dogfight. But I think Hill's more tenacious, skillful, and I like the cardio advantage for Hill in this fight. Khalil is more explosive, but I think Hill can outlast, take him to the later rounds, and Rountree has a chance to catch him, but I think it's unlikely unless Hill's just washed up. So personally, I expect the pressure of Hill, the grittiness, to take a toll on Rountree and then lead to Hill finishing the fight in the 4th round. So my prediction is going to be Jamahal Hill to get this victory, 4th round KO TKO finish, and get back into the title picture against Khalil Rountree. And in this next one, we got a rematch between Darya Zheleznyakova, versus Mellisa Mullins. But kind of a random matchup here, man. I mean, these girls fought in 2022. Mullins won in the 1st round with ground and pound. And since then, both came into the UFC and kind of been mediocre. Mullins 2-1, but just had some weight issues. And then Darya is 1-1 and had issues herself pulling out a fight. So kind of not been the most trustworthy since coming to the UFC, but right now, Mullins does have that momentum. She's coming off a finished victory, whereas Darya is coming off a loss to Aline Perez. So that's why I don't get why they're doing this fight. I mean, we got the girl that won the original fight in the 1st round coming off a win, and the loser coming off a loss, but they're putting him in a rematch here. But, yeah, the first time these two fought, Darya did start out really good on the feet. There was a gap there. There's an advantage for Zheleznyakova. She was able to land some straights, some counters, but Mullins, she could take the power. She kept coming forward, and the second she got Darya in the clinch, she put her on the cage. She took her down, and she ended up almost getting caught in an armbar, which was good to see from Darya in an initial attack, but Mullins used that to pass. She got into full mount, and then she ended up finishing her on the ground with 1 second left with ground and pounds. And then you go and you look at Darya's last fight, and Aline Perez is in the top 10 and everything like that, but she got one takedown and was able to finish the fight. So Darya, it seems like she's working on her takedown defense a little bit, but she's not good off of her back. And Mullins, she's been working her boxing. I think she's improved there. She's shown that she's at least been trying with different coaches and things like that. And I think that she still has a major edge on top, and I think she could finish if she gets one takedown. So I definitely feel she should win the fight and be the favorite. And for Zheleznyakova, I think just trying to get that knockout early is the way to go, but it's probably not going to happen for you unless you come in here and you have way better takedown defense and just piece Mullins up over 3 rounds. I don't see a lot of path to victory. I think that Mullins is going to get another first-round stoppage here. So there you have it, guys. It's a full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC Azerbaijan, UFC Baku, Jamahal versus Khalil Rountree. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. As far as my most confident pick on this card, for the most confident pick, man, there's a few fighters that I have fairly decent confidence in, but I guess I'll go with Nazim Sadykhov as my most confident pick on this card. And for the play of the week that I will give you guys, or the parlay of the week, it will be Nazim Sadykhov and Mellisa Mullins. So that's going to be the parlay of the week this week. If you want to add Tagir Ulanbekov on there, I think he's fairly safe as well. But thanks for watching, guys. And like I said at the beginning of the video, hit the like button, put a comment down below, go to Patreon, check it out, help support the channel. And I'm going to be back breaking down another fight card soon. So I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.